You're about to witness a story that will restore your faith in humanity. It's about a widow's struggle, a hungry child, and a teacher's extraordinary act of kindness that changed everything. What happens next will leave you speechless. Stay with us until the end. You won't believe how this story unfolds. Picture this. You're looking at a modest 3-story house, built with love and dreams by a man who believed in providing for his family. But tragedy has a way of shattering even the strongest foundations. Meet 13-year-old Marcus, living with his mother, Sarah, and his older sister, Emma, in what was once a home filled with laughter. 5 years ago, when Marcus was just 8, his father collapsed at work. At only 36 years old, the family's breadwinner was gone, leaving behind a 28-year-old widow and 2 children whose world had just crumbled. You might think that in times like these, family and friends rally around those in need. But here's the harsh reality. When tragedy strikes, you often discover who truly cares. Sarah received a modest settlement from her husband's company, barely $2,100, and then silence. The relatives who once filled their home with chatter, gone. The friends who promised to always be there, nowhere to be found. The community that once embraced them had moved on with their own lives. Watch Sarah as she transforms from a grieving wife into a warrior mother. With no one else to turn to, she becomes the sole guardian of her family's survival. Days blur into nights as she cuts every possible expense, sells whatever little they own, and stretches every dollar until it screams. But even the strongest fighters can't win against mathematics. 10 months, that's all it took for their safety net to disappear completely. Now comes the moment that will break your heart. Sarah, who had never worked outside her home, must venture into a world that seems designed to crush single mothers. She finds work as a house cleaner. Not 1 job, but 3. 3 different houses, 3 different families to serve, earning a total of $125 a month. Let that sink in. A mother of 2, working herself to exhaustion for what many people spend on a single dinner out. Meanwhile, Marcus tries to be the man of the house at 13. He watches his mother leave before dawn and return after midnight. He sees the worry lines deepening on her face. He feels the gnawing hunger that has become his constant companion. And then comes the day that changes everything. You're now in Marcus's classroom, watching a boy who hasn't eaten in 2 days try to focus on algebra. His vision blurs, his hands shake, and the classroom begins to spin. This is what desperation looks like when it wears a school uniform. Mr. Davidson, his teacher, notices immediately. There's something about the way Marcus holds his head, the pale color of his skin, the way he's gripping his desk just to stay upright. "Marcus? Are you all right, son?" "Yes, sir. I'm fine," Marcus responds weakly. But Mr. Davidson has been teaching for 15 years. He knows the difference between fine and fighting for survival. "Marcus, I need you to be honest with me. What's really going on?" And in that moment, with his pride crumbling like his empty stomach, Marcus whispers the words that will change both their lives forever. We don't have any food at home, sir. Haven't eaten for 2 days. What happens next will restore your faith in humanity. But it's just the beginning of an incredible journey. Mr. Davidson doesn't just offer sympathy, he takes action that will echo through generations. Stay with us, because you're about to witness how one teacher's kindness creates a ripple effect that transforms multiple lives in ways you never saw coming. Without hesitation, Mr. Davidson springs into action. This isn't just a teacher helping a student, this is humanity at its finest. He guides Marcus to the staff room, his mind already racing with solutions. "Johnson!" he calls to the school janitor, pressing money into his hands. "Run to the store immediately, get Marcus something to eat, a sandwich, burger, anything substantial, and grab a drink too." You can see the urgency in Mr. Davidson's movements, the way he keeps glancing at Marcus, who's barely staying upright. This man isn't just going through the motions, he's genuinely distressed by what he's witnessing. Within minutes, Johnson returns with a burger and a cold soda. Watch Marcus's transformation as he takes that first bite. Color slowly returns to his cheeks, his hands stop trembling, and for the first time in days, clarity returns to his eyes. "How do you feel now, Marcus?" Mr. Davidson asks, studying the boy's face carefully. "Better, sir. Much better." "Thank you," Marcus manages, his voice stronger now. But Mr. Davidson isn't finished. Not even close. Good. Now go back to class, and when school ends, come see me in my office. We're not done here. When the final bell rings, Marcus walks nervously toward Mr. Davidson's office. What he doesn't know is that this conversation will alter the trajectory of his entire life. "Don't worry, Marcus, I'm going to help you," Mr. Davidson says, grabbing his motorcycle keys. "Come on, we're going shopping." Picture this scene. A teacher and his struggling student riding through town on a motorcycle, heading to the grocery store. But this isn't just any shopping trip. This is a rescue mission. Mr. Davidson doesn't just buy a few items. He fills an entire cart. Rice, flour, lentils, sugar, cooking oil, canned goods, fresh vegetables. Everything a family needs to survive. The bill comes to more than Mr. Davidson makes in a week, but he doesn't hesitate for a second. They arrive at Marcus's home while Sarah is still at work, cleaning her third house of the day. Mr. Davidson carries the groceries into their small kitchen, stocking shelves that have been empty for weeks. Then comes the moment that will echo in Marcus's heart forever. "Marcus, listen to me carefully. From now on, I'll make sure your family has everything you need. I'll bring groceries every month so you can focus on your studies instead of wondering where your next meal will come from." Marcus stares in disbelief. Who does this? Who takes on the burden of feeding someone else's family without being asked? "I know things are incredibly tough right now," Mr. Davidson continues, "but I need you to focus entirely on your education. It's your ticket out of this situation. I'll handle everything else," and incredibly he keeps his word. Every single month, without fail, groceries appear at their door. But Mr. Davidson's generosity goes even further. He speaks to the school administration and gets Marcus's unpaid fees waived for 3 months. When Sarah comes home that night and sees the fully stocked kitchen, she breaks down completely. Her 13-year-old son explains everything, and she can barely comprehend such kindness from a stranger. He says to consider him like a brother, Mom. He says we're like family to him now. Sarah falls to her knees, overwhelmed by gratitude and disbelief that someone would care this much about their survival. But here's where the story takes an even more incredible turn. Mr. Davidson doesn't just provide food. He becomes Marcus's mentor, his guide, his beacon of hope. He instills in Marcus something that hunger had almost destroyed, the belief that education could change everything. With his stomach full and his future secured, Marcus throws himself into his studies like never before. The weak, distracted boy, who once struggled to stay conscious in class, transforms into a focused, determined student. His grades soar, his confidence grows, and slowly but surely he begins to dream of possibilities he never thought possible. Years pass, and Marcus's dedication pays off in ways no one could have predicted. The boy who once couldn't afford lunch receives news that will change everything. He's been awarded a full scholarship to study at a prestigious university abroad. Can you imagine Sarah's emotions when she hears this news? Her son, the same child, who once fainted from hunger, is going to study overseas, all expenses paid. But this is just the beginning of an incredible transformation that will come full circle in the most unexpected way. What Marcus does with his success will shock you, and how this story ends will restore your faith in the power of kindness. Stay with us, because you're about to witness how one act of compassion creates a legacy that spans generations. The day Marcus leaves for university abroad is both heartbreaking and triumphant. Picture Sarah and Emma at the airport, tears streaming down their faces as they watch their beloved son and brother board a plane to a future they never dared imagine possible. Marcus hugs them tightly, promising to make them proud, to never forget where he came from, and to work harder than he's ever worked before. As the plane takes off, he presses his face to the window, watching his homeland disappear below the clouds, carrying with him the memory of every hungry night and every act of kindness that brought him to this moment. When Marcus lands in his new country, he's overwhelmed by the opportunities before him. The university has arranged everything: his dormitory, meal plan, books, even spending money. For a young man who once went days without eating, having 3 guaranteed meals a day feels like winning the lottery. But Marcus doesn't forget his family back home. From his very first month abroad, he sends money to Sarah, not just pocket change but substantial amounts that allow her to finally quit her exhausting cleaning jobs. "Mum, please stop working," he tells her during their weekly phone calls. "I can take care of you now. Rest. You've sacrificed enough." Sarah can barely believe it. The same woman who once worried about buying rice now has enough money to renovate their home, buy new furniture, and live with dignity. As Marcus settles into university life, he doesn't just study, he excels. But success doesn't make him soft. He takes on part-time work to send even more money home, driven by the memory of his mother's calloused hands and sleepless nights. Years pass, and something remarkable happens. The relatives who disappeared when times were tough suddenly start appearing at Sarah's door. They come with smiles and offers of help, acting as if they'd never abandoned the family in their darkest hour. Sarah doesn't turn them away. She's too kind for that, but she notices the irony. Where were these caring relatives when Marcus was fainting from hunger? Where were they when she was scrubbing floors at midnight? Meanwhile, Emma finishes her education, and the family begins planning for a future filled with possibilities they never thought they'd see. Then comes the news that changes everything. Marcus graduates with honors and receives a job offer that seems too good to be true. A management position with a prestigious company in Pakistan with a starting salary of $4,200 per month. To put that in perspective, it's more money than his mother made in 3 years of cleaning houses. Before leaving for his new job, Marcus goes shopping for gifts. He wants to show his mother and sister how much their sacrifices meant to him, how their love sustained him through every challenge. The day he leaves for Pakistan, Sarah holds him close, her heart bursting with pride. She kisses his forehead just like she did when he was a little boy, but now she's kissing a successful young man who's about to change the world. Marcus's first day as a general manager is surreal. Sitting in his corner office, wearing a tailored suit, commanding respect from colleagues, it feels like a dream. But in the quiet moments, one face keeps appearing in his mind. Mr. Davidson. Everything Marcus has achieved, every door that's opened, every opportunity that's come his way, it all traces back to that moment when a teacher chose to care about a hungry student. The realization hits him like lightning. He has to find Mr. Davidson. He has to thank the man who saved his life. Marcus immediately arranges for a company car and drives to his old school, his heart pounding with anticipation. But when he arrives, he receives devastating news. Mr. Davidson left the school a year ago. Panic sets in. What if he can't find him? What if it's too late to express his gratitude? After hours of searching and making phone calls, Marcus finally gets Mr. Davidson's address. He buys fruits and sweets, rehearsing in his mind what he'll say to the man who changed everything. But when Marcus arrives at Mr. Davidson's house, he's shocked by what he sees. The vibrant, energetic teacher who once rushed to buy him food now looks frail and tired. Mr. Davidson has been struggling financially, taking on private tutoring jobs just to make ends meet. The years have taken their toll, and the man who once saved others now needs saving himself. Marcus's heart breaks. How could he have let this happen? How could the man who gave him everything be struggling while he's living in luxury? Without hesitation, Marcus springs into action just like Mr. Davidson once did for him. He immediately arranges for the best medical care, starts sending daily food supplies, and ensures that Mr. Davidson and his family have everything they need. But what happens next will shock you beyond belief. As Mr. Davidson's health improves, Sarah visits his home and meets his daughter, Elena, a bright, kind young woman who's been helping her father with his tutoring business. Sarah is immediately struck by Elena's character, her dedication to her family, and her gentle spirit. An idea begins to form in Sarah's mind, and she approaches Mr. Davidson with a proposal that will complete the circle of kindness in the most beautiful way possible. The conversation that follows will leave you speechless, and the ending of this story will prove that sometimes the greatest gifts we give come back to us in ways we never expected. Stay with us for the final part, because what you're about to witness is the most heartwarming conclusion you'll ever. Say that picture this moment. Sarah, sitting across from Mr. Davidson in his modest living room, watching Elena serve tea with the same gentle care her father once showed Marcus. The idea that's been forming in Sarah's mind suddenly crystallizes into something beautiful. "Mr. Davidson," Sarah begins carefully, "you've given my family everything. You saved my son's life, gave him a future, and showed us kindness when the world had turned its back on us." Mr. Davidson shifts uncomfortably, still humble after all these years. "Sarah, please, I only did what anyone should do." "No," Sarah continues, her voice growing stronger. "What you did was extraordinary. And now I'd like to ask you something." That might sound surprising. Elena looks up from her tea, curious about the serious tone in the room. "Your daughter Elena is a remarkable young woman. She's educated, kind, and has the same generous heart as her father. My son Marcus has become successful, but more importantly, he's become a good man, largely because of your influence. You can see where this is going, and the beauty of it is overwhelming. I would be honored if Eleanor would consider marrying Marcus. Our families are already connected by love and gratitude. Why not make it official?" The room falls silent. Eleanor blushes. Mr. Davidson's eyes widen, and then something magical happens. He begins to smile through tears. "Sarah," he whispers, "I cannot think of a greater honor than to have our families truly become one." When Marcus learns about the proposal, he's initially stunned, then overjoyed. He's met Elena several times while caring for Mr. Davidson, and each encounter has left him impressed by her intelligence, kindness, and strength. She reminds him of his mother, resilient, caring, and unshakable in her values. Elena, for her part, has watched Marcus transform from a successful businessman into someone who drops everything to care for others. She's seen how he treats her, father with respect and genuine affection, how he honors his mother, and how success hasn't changed his humble heart. The engagement is announced, and the wedding planning begins. But this isn't just any wedding. This is the celebration of a circle completed, of kindness rewarded, of love multiplied across generations. On the wedding day, you witness something extraordinary. Mr. Davidson, now healthy and strong, thanks to Marcus's care, walks Elena down the aisle with tears of joy streaming down his face. This is the man who once spent his own money to feed a hungry student, now watching that same student marry his daughter. Sarah, elegant in her mother-of-the-groom outfit, watches her son, the boy who once fainted from hunger, marry the daughter of the teacher who saved his life. The poetry of it is breathtaking, but the most moving moment comes during the speeches. Marcus stands before the gathered crowd, holding Elena's hand, and addresses Mr. Davidson directly. "Sir, 15 years ago, you saw a hungry boy and didn't just feed him for a day. You fed his dreams, his hopes, and his future. You didn't just give me food, you gave me the belief that I deserved to dream big. You didn't just help my family survive. You showed us what real love looks like." His voice breaks with emotion as he continues, "I used to think I could never repay you for what you did. I was wrong. I can't repay you. But I can honor you by living the values you taught me, by helping others the way you helped me, and by loving your daughter with the same selfless heart you showed my family." There isn't a dry eye in the room. But the story doesn't end there. Marcus and Elena establish a foundation together, dedicated to helping struggling families and hungry children. They create scholarship programs, sponsor meals for needy students, and ensure that no child in their community goes through what Marcus once experienced. Mr. Davidson becomes not just Marcus's father-in-law, but his business partner in spreading kindness. Together they visit schools, identifying students who need help, making sure that no cry for help goes unheard. Sarah, now a beloved grandmother to Marcus and Elena's children, often tells them the story of how their family came to be, how a teacher's kindness created a legacy of love that will continue for generations. And here's the most beautiful part. Those children grow up understanding that success isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by how many lives you touch. They learn that the greatest investment you can make is in another person's potential. Years later, when Marcus is asked about the secret to his success, he always gives the same answer. Success isn't about climbing higher than others. It's about reaching down to lift others up. My teacher taught me that when you plant seeds of kindness, you don't just change one life, you change the world. Mr. Davidson, now in his golden years, surrounded by grandchildren who call him Grandpa Teacher, often reflects on that day he bought a hungry boy a burger. He never imagined that one small act of kindness would create a family, a foundation, and a legacy that continues to transform lives. And so, friends, this is how a teacher's gift became so much more than food for a hungry child. It became nourishment for the soul, hope for the hopeless, and proof that in a world that can seem cruel and indifferent, there are still people who choose love over apathy, action over excuses, and kindness over indifference. The next time you see someone struggling, remember Marcus and Mr. Davidson. Remember that you have the power to change a life with a simple act of kindness. You never know. That person you help today might become the one who changes the world tomorrow, because that's the truth about kindness. It never dies. It only multiplies. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, it comes back to us in ways more beautiful than we ever dared to imagine. The end. What did you think of this incredible journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story touched your heart, please share it with others. Remember, we all have the power to be someone's Mr. Davidson. The question is, will you choose to use it?